let's just take them all out just to be safe. You know what I mean?
Better
I think that's
safe
good
than
moderation. Yeah, it's kind of like this channel's Autobot. In the bottom right, from Good Game Gaming in the blue, the Protoss hero, this is Cyan.
And his opponent in the top left, we might be underselling him. He's only a slight underdog statistically in this matchup. The Terran player from IG, it is Coffee. I still actually use a Coffee TVP build in my matchups. The Medevacless Biotank Bunker Push. So definitely not a Coffee hater. I learn things from Coffee when I watch him play. He's always got some interesting builds, and this is never a bad way to start. That Engineering Bay block, 4 probes are pulled down. They got to kill that SCV quick fast. Don't think he microed. He's not hitting the SCV, Maynard.
No, okay, that's a mistake.
Oh, that is really bad from Cyan.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why we're concerned here, if you guys are scratching your head or just smiling, going, haha, yeah, and just smile and nod, but you don't really understand, the getting the SCV off this Engineering Bay means the Engineering Bay has less hit points, which means you don't need to necessarily make this Zealot. You can burn a lower hit point structure down with your probes and save that 100 minerals, which would otherwise go into a Nexus, because having a Zealot out right now is not super useful. I mean, you can go across the map with maybe like a Stalker or something later for a bit of a poke at the natural if the Terran's like super greedy, but it's not still a unit you would rather have as a Protoss. You definitely just want to get that Nexus and go up into an Adept or a Stalker.
So long. I feel like the probes would kill it faster because they're out so much earlier. Like the Zealot works on it quickly now, but still, I mean, look at that. He's got to take a second gas. He's probably going to even think about getting a tech structure maybe before even going for the Nexus. A big blunder from Cyan there early on to not target that, and now finds himself in a bit of a disadvantaged position. Now, with this build order, Coffee does have that quick factory up, and he was always planning to delay his command center a little bit. Cancels the Engineering Bay at the last second, and both players end up, you see, with the same expansion timing, which already is good for Terran. Normally they're behind 20 or 30 seconds. And then you add to that the fact that his factory is finished when the Stargate is just starting. And you can see how this opening unfolds so much better. Normally, Stargate starts maybe 2 minutes 20, 2:30. Twilight Factory normally starts at 2:10, something like that, maybe 10 seconds faster. Having it 40 seconds faster is massive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's actually smart for Coffee to get that CC on the high ground as well, because as I mentioned, there is that Zealot. The Zealot with a Stalker can be extremely annoying. We're actually not seeing any tier 1.5 units coming out of this gateway after the Cybercore, apart from the Adept here, because there is a Stargate in the back door for Cyan going straight into Void Ray, which is an expensive unit, so saving a little bit of bang for that one.
Now that's interesting. The Void Ray 2 base build, we saw Zest try a version of this in the GSL finals, and it looked silly. So a lot of people were kind of going, oh, what a dumb build. I can't believe Zest was doing silly builds. I think it made sense for Blackburn because it can kind of get over there very easily, and in these spawns, the reactor's very exposed, so if there's not much anti-air, it's great. There's a Cyclone out, so Void Ray is not really going to achieve anything. Maybe if there's a tank push, it comes in from a flank and kills the tank with prismatic alignment, but generally speaking, it's an expensive unit that's a little bit of a dead weight this early on. So I like that Cyan, seeing the Cyclone, does build an Oracle behind that, swaps into a much more multi-purpose unit. The Oracle, it can act as an observer, fantastic scout, light harassment unit that focuses on mobility rather than the Void Ray, which is a little bit clunky.
Well, we do have the clunky yet relatively effective army of Coffee and also Cyan rolling out here. With the stim on the way, I like Coffee. I like Coffee's position still. Obviously, Cyan has been printing probes for quite a while here. He's gotten that worker lead to about where he kind of would like to have it be. Sorry, guys, I really do need coffee in my blood. I decided to forgo it this evening for better for worse. And the Marine here is getting shoot off the front door. Sees a good handful of Adepts, and we do know that Cyan is one of those Protosses that likes the Adept potentially a little bit more than he should in PvT. Because I really feel like the Adept is not that great of a unit in this matchup. But Cyan, I mean, he still believes in it. I haven't seen it work super well for him, but he's a believer.
Well, I mean, there's a really good Void Ray charge it all in, which is very, very, no one knows about it, Maynard. Saying it, people you're making it up, pig. It's not real. It's real, guys. It's real. It's an urban legend on the ladder, but trust me, it is good. There's no bunker right now, Maynard. Doesn't have his stim yet. Oh no, these Marines need to get back. They need to get back.
I feel like the tanks need to unsiege as well. Am I wrong? Like, it just feels like they'd be a little bit more effective against Adepts in that way. Or Coffee. SCV pull there at the end. Only 2 SCVs getting caught in the stasis ward. Could be a little bit worse than that. I don't feel like siege tanks actually help here.
Yeah, I mean, he gets a good volley off initially, and they're not dragging the fire onto the Marines. Bad engagement from Cyan there. And in the depth, Void Ray timing at 6 minutes just gets absolutely shut down. And similar to how Zest executed his one, I mean, it's Void Ray charge lot. It's not, you're not meant to do a Void Ray Adept attack. That's a wild way of doing things. And Cyan, I told you he'd bring out some different things in the mid-game, Maynard. He has some weird ideas about PvT sometimes. He just does these really strange strategies mixed in with the most standard immaculate macro play you'll ever see. And it's such a dichotomy, but I feel like at least once in a best of 5, he has to indulge this side. You know, the Mr. Hyde, the Dr. Jekyll kind of, he needs to give a little bit to both sides.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm disappointed, honestly, that Cyan going into Resonating Glaives here. Just in the sense that, you know, I don't want Cyan to throw the game away too hard, because I really do not believe in the Adept, but I'm also leaving my mind open to Cyan surprising me and convincing me otherwise. We are going to see a lot more Adepts coming in with this army to join with the Void Rays. An army that really just feels like, as a Terran, you just make Marines and Medevacs and move through it. I just don't see the efficacy here unless you get an amazing stasis ward. Oh, never mind. All in. Let's go. Bring the boys.
And that'll absolutely crush him. The Adepts don't do damage that quickly, so the SCVs buffering are just going to be so useful here. And it's enough Marines in a blob. It's going to be really scary. I don't think Cyan can defend this. Now, counterattack Adepts could be big, but this is such a scary force. Shield Battery Overcharge is going to have to work overtime.
Overcharge overtime, we'll see. Adepts rolling into the natural, not even... I mean, they got one SCV kill there, but the boys are ready. They're tagged, but they ain't bagged. They're ready to just hug some gateway units.
Got 4 medevacs. He doesn't need to push, right? That stim will get healed up, so he can stim again easily. The medevacs have healed him back up. Oh, watch out for the Adepts. Okay, does not commit to the shade. Turret's building there. And the Void Rays
used, by the way.
Yeah, that's already gone. Dude, this is getting to be a big problem. He's got to go now to Cyan, but those Adepts are struggling.
Oh man, those things just get deleted by the stimmed bio here. No upgrades on the attack there, but they do have combat shield and stim. And that's all the growing Marine body needs sometimes to just rip and tear through some Protoss. GG. Coffee with the counterattack there. Takes game number 1. Cyan's build strategy, I guess maybe more strategy rather than build, looked a little, you know, underdone there.
Underdone, yeah, definitely looked a little bit weird for sure, Maynard. Odd choice to go for multiple Void Rays, to get an Oracle and then go back into Void Rays and then Adepts. I've seen Adepts kill a lot of Terrans. I've watched Task games, mate. I've seen it kill a lot of them. Dude, this is 6 minutes in the game. This is not early to be hitting with just 6 Adepts and a couple of Void Rays. So that initially is just a late time to go. I really think it's much stronger if you just use the Void Rays as a light harassment unit. Pick off some of the depot on the edge of the main. Pick off the depot behind the mineral line. And then you can go with Mass Glaive Adepts as a big surprise maneuver. But it's meant to be a 2-base all-in. It's not meant to be a macro play. And you can take a 3rd base and kind of pretend you're probing it up and maybe go maximum 50 probes, 3 gases, to go 4 gas, 55 probes, plus 1 attack, 4 Void Rays, an Oracle, sentries, shield batteries. These are all things that are gearing up for the long game. We've talked about it before. The Adepts just do not scale as well as Charge Zealots into the latter stages. They've got less hit points and they don't attack fast enough.
And you're also not spending gas as well, which is the other plus side of getting the Zealots. They are the same price as the Adept. Yes, they can't shade. Yes, they aren't ranged units, but they, with charge, are the cheaper, more effective option for a lot of the Protoss front lines. And I honestly, you know, to be fair though, that particular predicament for Cyan, you replace all those Adepts with charge lots, I still think he dies there. He put himself in a pretty awkward spot from the beginning of the game to kind of, you know, make that bed that he had to lie in later on in the mid game.
Yeah, it's always a weird situation there. I mean, the Void Rays, so many Void Rays as well. The thing is, I really like the idea of Void Rays as kind of a different version of the Phoenix, right? If you think about it, Phoenix Chargelet has existed for a while. Phoenix Adept as well. These are all ins. The Void Ray doesn't cost that much more, and it's so much better at focusing down Marauders, tanks, Medivacs, Liberators. Armored units go down very quickly. So the Void Ray does way more damage in certain situations. And you can understand, you're like, oh yeah, I can totally see why you would want to do this. But in that scenario, it just looked a little bit odd. And I mean, when do Adepts look great? Because remember, they can look terrible and they can look great. They look great when they drag tank fire, Widowmine fire into the Terran units. We saw a game on Romanticide last season. We were like, this doesn't look good at all for Cyan. And then he shaded in and like 4 of the Terrans Widowmines killed his own army. And we were like, oh, Cyan's winning. So don't count it out completely. But it's so binary. It either works or it doesn't work based on that engagement. Last game it didn't work. Let's see if he can turn it around. In the bottom left side of the map, this is Cyan.
It is indeed well spotted, Pagan. In the top right side, this in the red is Invictus Gaming's Coffee. Setting an SCV out to the far left side on that watchtower. Pretty quick and interesting pathing SCV here for Coffee, with another one following it behind. So it looks to be a proxy.
Yeah, interesting to see exactly how this is going to be executed, though.
Yeah, engineering bay block plus proxy barracks, question mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 2 for Maynard, so factory in the main. Get some Widow Mines walking in, right? I think this is the one with the armory at home. This is a very funky build.
Did see this recently, yeah.
Yeah, it's super weird, dude. Oh, okay, so engineering bay is almost finished. Just pulls off it, make sure it doesn't build. Cyan goes and takes the 3rd base. Factory now building over there on the left side of the map. Oh, this is going to get really weird.
It does indeed, but you know what? I'm strapped in. I'm putting in my my Formula 1 racing belt that I keep strapped to this chair just in case of hot esports action. I'm ready to ride this rocket to the moon, Pig.
Oh, sees the early reactor there. But not insanely fast reactor, so you should know that the factory already started.
Factories are about to get done here. Yeah, the probe should have probably started to send some red flags back home to Cyan that all is not as it should be in the Terran main. But of course, we do have the Hellion being built here instead of a Widowmine, which is interesting. But it might be a Hellion then a Widowmine, or he's going to build a starport. Oh my god! All right.
Oh,
starport right next to the factory, and he's going to load that thing up with Hellions.
Oh, the 3 Hellion drop. Yeah, I mean, this is so deadly, especially if their base is like this. I don't know how Cyan can possibly defend this. The engineering bay block is causing nightmares for Cyan, Maynard. I mean, we were like, hey, maybe Cyan's a bit too focused on the finals. Coffee can figure out some like corners to cut, hit some timing attacks. Oh, you just figured out I block your natural, don't let you take it, and apparently I just smash.
Yeah, I mean, this is extremely committed, obviously. 2/3 of the production of the Terran, the expensive structures are over here on the other side of the map. No command center behind this, so there's not really an economic game in this for Coffee. He's cut SCVs to build these units. The Adepts are coming forward, and I mean, there could be a CC on the high ground, but it's unlikely. And I think that Cyan is starting to get a little bit sweaty here. He's just realizing that, oh no, we're in trouble. Drop that shield battery.
No shield battery in the main is definitely worrisome. Oh, he's going to see it, but it's already picking up and going.
Man, it's too late.
Uh-oh.
There's no shield battery in the main base, I don't think.
Evacuate the main. Run!
Yeah,
Run!
Oh, man, they need to get to that 3rd, but oh my god, it's a long walk because of the engineering bay block. Oh my god, line him up! Line him up!
Oh, my lord, this is so much damage. And he saves all 3 Hellions, man. And he goes back, and he can shoot from the high ground. He can literally kill those probes from the high ground. He can kill the gas probes. I mean, he doesn't want to lose these Hellions, of course. I think he should honestly just pull out and back off, because this is still...
Oh, no!
Oh!
Coffee. I mean, 10 workers is awesome, but, you know, losing the medevac and the Hellions is pretty rough. The Stalker takes one for the team there, trying to keep all the probes that he can alive. Coffee shows up with, what's that, 8 Marines? And a Widowmine?
Yeah, 8 Marines and a Widowmine off this reactor, dude. He's just pumped out a bunch of them, and he is blasting these units. He unburrows the Widowmine and pulls it back to make sure it doesn't friendly fire. That probe goes floating up to the surface of the ocean. Cyan is taking devastating damage.
A bit of a mind drag there into the Terran's face, but 15 probes have died. Now, the downside here for Coffee is, again, no command center. It's just now finishing. He's turning it into an orbital. There's no command center on the ground mining for him just yet. And with the factory and starport flying in the sky, he doesn't have that production yet. So, you know, that's a small glass half full situation here for Cyan. But make no mistake, I think Goffy is going to be just fine here as long as he can secure this natural.
Losing the factory always is a little costly, but starting a new one at home, and command center is going to float down towards that expansion. Cyan is, of course, taking a big punch, but this did not come at a... this is not free.
No.
This is so darned expensive, losing those structures, of course, and just going to be rebuilding at home. But Coffee, I think with the head start on the barracks production, building 3 Marines, a Marauder, Stim, Blink's kind of scary for a little while longer. This would be a good time for Cyan to trade. So this is nice. Any units he can pick off now when he's got Blink and Stim and whatnot isn't finished, that's going to be a good moment for him to try and take some fights.
Quite agree. Like, this is his advantage right now. Oh, Robovate going down for Cyan. Looks like he wants to get to Colossus pretty quickly here. Some SCVs getting picked off as well. All of this is great damage, obviously, as long as he's not losing Stalkers. Everything is going to be great here for the Protoss. Oh,
very good micro, very good. Oh, he's getting so many Marines. This is getting Cyan back into this game. If these units were able to group up with medevacs and upgrades, they would be so hard for Cyan to stop. But instead, he's probing up behind this. He gets a few SCVs, takes down the Marine count number quite a lot. And yeah, the medevacs are going to be coming out. Guess what? The Stalkers are going to pop in there, get a reactor, and get on out.
Yeah, not before the 2 medevacs pop out, but getting the reactor is something. Oh, never mind. SCV mass repair. They keep it up. Kill a Stalker even.
Oh, he's going to drop on his face.
Hit points. Oh, wow.
YOLO. Coffee's in YOLO mode. We've talked about how Coffee loves to attack in multi-prong, Maynard, and he loves to chase those Stalkers down.
Oh,
massive revenge.
Yeah, things just turned on a dime just now as Coffee catches those Stalkers. Cyan maybe not looking at them for a split second as Coffee just gets decisive, gets crazy, and crazy worked out for him there.
Colossus on 2 base going to come in. So Cyan, when this push comes, Maynard, right, it's going to be a pretty standard 3x push. Not a lot of tanks, maybe just 1 tank or maybe 2 with the first push that really commits. Cyan's going to have a Colossus, a Sentry, and 3 Stalkers versus giant army of Bio. So I'm not very good at numbers. Can you tell me who wins that?
The Space Elves, right? The robots with the laser beams.
Yeah, I think they have friggin' lasers, so I think they automatically win. Lasers.
Yeah. It's definitely not the 500 people with rocket-propelled grenade launchers and, you know, power armor and guns that shoot faster when you take drugs.
Oh, especially when his third's this far out of position. This is terrible. Cyan does not have the numbers. He's got some Stalkers in the main. He's got 2 Sentries, a Colossus, and a Shield Battery at the third.
Does he need to drop here? I don't think so.
No, he could stim in. I mean, obviously the Colossus is in such a good spot in the mineral line. You can't really get at the Colossus. So he doesn't want to throw his army away. But if Cyan can bring this back, that'll be huge.
Overcharged Shield Battery definitely going to assist. Marauders on the right side taking the attention of the Colossus away for the Marines on the left side, which is nice. With the Force Fields and the Overcharged Shield Battery end up being effective enough there for Cyan to hold on.
Not a good idea to blink down there. This is the problem, is just picks up, goes to the main. Actually, you know what? He doesn't really find any damage there. Coffee getting over-eager. We've talked in the past. Coffee's strength, multi-prong. His weakness, multi-prong when he shouldn't multi-prong.
Sometimes the blood rushes from the brain of Coffee elsewhere, and he just gets a little bit excited about his results in the game, and he does do things that don't seem to have like a ton of thought of the consequence. But I do like this push from Coffee, like it reinforcing it with a little bit more, bringing in some boom, bringing in the siege tanks as well. It's going to be fantastic to help him out against this, you know, not super powerful army, and definitely not a very good army against tanks and marauders.
Cyan trying to start at third base only now, even later than the third command center started. He is in a desperate position, and he's going to have to take just the right fight. Cyan cannot cover every front. He's got to have everything together. Those siege tanks causing him a bit of trouble. Does take 1 big volley. Stalker goes down. He's used up a lot of sentry energy as well. That's what's very worrisome. But his observer, I think he spots the pickup. Maybe, maybe not.
Oh, I don't think he did at all. He sees it now, obviously. Blink in the main, but that's not enough units. Needs the Colossus up here as well.
Colossus get a great angle. The wall is really containing the Bio. Whenever he drops up there, It's not like he's killing probes. And
Ooh,
a full medevac goes...
Damn, dude.
What?
I actually am super surprised Coffee tapped there. He's not dead.
Not at all, Maynard. He was nowhere near dead.
I was looking at the production tab, I'm like, did he accidentally cancel his third, and that's why he left? But no, it was there.
No, a confusing choice for Coffee to tap out of that game. You know, honestly, if you think about it, Maynard, he had not seen beyond that expansion for so long, and he was so frantically trying to kill. I think he just assumed Cyan had a fully saturated third base in the natural. I think he was like, no, like, we're trying to break you. There's too many Colossus Stalkers. You've got extended thermal lance, sentries. Like, you've got 3 base. My third's not even finished. The all-in didn't work. And it's like, I think Coffee lost track of where he was in this game. Because remember, all those Stalker kills. He killed so many Stalkers, and that totally made up for any damage that was done to him. He killed like 20 workers in the early game. This, unfortunately, was Coffee throwing in the towel a little bit early. Those fights were bad. Cyan was getting back in the game off those fights, but he wasn't really going to have a very strong counter push.
Yeah. I think the positioning of the Nexus, which he forced, by the way, is what, confused him there, because that's where the third is. But that's actually just the second base of Cyan. The natural is a ghost town. There is nothing there. So yeah, I do think that, I agree with you, Pig. I think Coffee definitely made a mistake. But that aside, guys, we're going to take a short break. When we return, can Coffee get some damage back in the series? Don't go away. We'll see you then. We'll find out together. G'day StarCraft fans and welcome to the DreamHack Masters Chinese main event. Here I'm Maynard with me as Pig, and for our first best of 5 of the day, 2 of these incredibly good players have had a couple very not great games. You know, they've taken turns. Cyan had a turn looking not so great in game 1, and Coffee had a turn looking not so great in game 2.
Yeah, I think we've seen a few kind of the players not quite takedowns. They haven't quite tackled the other to the ground. The first guy's slipped in a bit of sweat on the floor, and he's kind of fallen face first. And the other guys said, "Oh, okay, let's knee him while he's down." Why not? That last one though was bizarre. Coffee really trying to force the issue with his advantage and overcommitting to some drops, not finding the damage, and then just tapping out off of what was probably no longer a lead. He was probably a little behind, but he had a massive lead before that point. So a really bizarre decision. So obviously the people watching referencing Idra and other people who've had, you know, famous early leavings in games when they're frustrated. But I've just got to think about it again and go, I get why he kept attacking that angle, right? Where he wanted to be like, cool, I'll force your army all the way down here and then I'll pick up and drop in the main. But I've got to say, why not just push in between from the natural, from the right side of that map? You're in between the 2 bases. It's always better as a Terran to force the Protoss to come to you. If you're in between the Protoss' bases, like, it's really hard for them to defend, even with Zealot Archon, which is a flanking army. Yet with Colossus Stalker Sentry, that army cannot flank you. If you siege up between their bases, they are screwed. So maybe not quite using that positional advantage as well as he could have. Now, I think this guy up here had bet to send a probe to his natural at about 1 minute to check if an engineering bay is going down, because if that gets him for a 3rd game in a row, he's in big trouble. It is, of course, Good Game Gaming, Cyan. Miraculous comeback, honestly, considering how that last game started.
Yeah, it's another one of those ones where I think Cyan got a little bit lucky. And in the bottom right here, from Invictus Gaming, this is Coffee. And yeah, like the thing that makes sense to me, it's obviously, you know, it doesn't look good for Coffee to say it out loud, but it just feels like the positioning of the Nexus, a situation that he forced himself with the engineering bay block, is what got into his head there. He's bouncing between the 3rd and the main, and the 3rd and the main, which a lot of Terrans would if a Protoss had 3 bases. And not really thinking about the fact that the natural was wide open. That there was a great big gaping hole in the defenses of Cyan down there. And also, you know, the big blaring neon flashing sign that says you're not losing this game when you run through that empty natural as well. So, yeah, I think it was just the positioning of the Nexus that messed with him, muscle memory, and that mixed in with some frustration. You could see that Coffee was definitely getting pretty frustrated there. We don't have player cams, so we can't like watch his face or anything like that, but you can see with how he was playing and what was happening and how quick he tapped out after, you know, he just insta left after he lost that that medevac. He was just like, "No, I'm done." That's just a bit of a frustration. GG.
All of his tanks were still alive. He didn't even bring those on the Doom drop in the main. They were still just sitting on the low ground. So, you know, all sieged up and happy. But this is something we've seen from Coffee before. Not necessarily the early leave, but the sudden, he's doing well, bam, he's lost. And it's partially because the style he plays is both a hyper-aggressive multi-prong style, but it's based off siege tanks. Siege tanks are a timing attack unit where you focus on a frontal push, or they are a defensive unit, right? One or the other. Widow Mines are the one that goes really well with you roaming the map in multiple squads, dropping multiple angles. Yet, Coffee tries to kind of do this hybrid style. It's very unique to him, where he tries to multi-prong while pushing you with siege tanks, right? He uses the siege tanks to kind of threaten, and then he'll just split his army up and start dropping everywhere at once. So it's a chaotic style, right? Because it doesn't play to the strengths of the tanks, but it's almost like a tricky thing because you're so focused on the tanks, and then bam, there's bio in all your mineral lines and you're losing all your probes. But it also means that he sometimes loses all of his tanks because his army's not together defending them from charge lots, and then suddenly, you know, his army's lacking a lot of power, he can get pushed back. Other times, well, he's dropping 4 places at once, and nobody can micro that perfectly, and, you know, a few Phoenix or Stalkers snap them out of the sky. So I think Coffee kind of felt like he'd hit that point where he'd lost a few too many drops, a few too many of his units had gone down, but he has another fresh chance here, and this one, straight on up into the 3 racks this time around. It's going to be very, very quick bio production blossoming out across this map. Now, obviously, it's off the back of a factory, so he's got the Cyclone. This looks like this is the build I copy off him. I don't think he builds a starport for quite a while, Maynard. Looks like he's just going to go for tanks after that Cyclone. Lots of bio. And probably about 6:30, we're going to see a giant army of Stim, Concussive Shell, Marine Marauder, some tanks coming across the map. It's a very scary push.
And speaking of Phoenixes, they are on the way here for Cyan, who did open Stargate. Oracle #1 about to hit that natural. This is soften up SCV, which is an easy target as well. Reaper shows up, sees the pylon, looks like a signs of a third Nexus about to get dropped down here. And Coffee is going to have to show this Cyclone in a second to deal with that Oracle. Does not have the firepower otherwise.
Adept does go down. Cyclone, a fantastic unit for defense, and Reaper does save the probes there and says, oh, well, somebody help me out over here. Oh, he's going to get a probe.
Well, luckily the other Phoenix comes out of the Stargate with enough energy for that Graviton lift, and the other one that's out of energy finishes it off. A wonderful tale for that Reaper.
Indeed. So what's cool about this build, right? You skip the starport, which means every stim is not getting healed. So it's very all in from Coffee. You don't have medevac healing. On the other hand, though, if you don't build starport medevacs, you also don't build engineering bay for upgrades, you save so much gas. And that's why he doesn't need either of the gases on his natural. Coffee's already getting close to saturated on his natural expand. And he does have a macro transition behind this. It's very slow. But I think as this second tank pops, so about 540, he's going to move out and shove across the map with just an abundance of marine tank. Now, he drops the eBay, the third gas. There'll be a starport dropping soon as well. None of that's going to be ready for the push itself. That's going to be kind of the next step that slowly unlocks behind it.
Phoenix is rolling in there with that Oracle, but they're going to be excused from that premises as it's looking very, very anti-Stargate in the main base. Natural's got even more Marines. Catches that SCV, which is nice, but not going to be any any actual damage to write home about here from the Stargate's units of Cyan, which is just doing a little bit of a poke, a little bit of scout, getting a tag on this army, and now he knows, oh wow, that's a lot of units.
How is Cyan going to defend this? He doesn't have charge. It's just started, Maynard. His army is not looking very good. He's got a bunch of unupgraded Adepts and Sentries. If he doesn't land a big stasis trap, I don't know if he's going to be able to deal with this amount of Marines. It's a lot of Marines coming across this map. Handful
of SCVs as well coming out of that natural to build bunkers and also potentially repair the tanks in the midst of this battle. So, yeah, it just seems like kind of similar to game one. Cyan just caught with not many units at all. And also Coffee scans and sees a stasis ward, which was his chance to hold this, I think, this stasis ward.
Yeah, it goes down. The tank's besieging. He's going to build turrets there to stop the Phoenix from picking up. Now, I actually think he could push in and win right now. If Coffee pushes in, there's nothing there to fight. He can stim in, force the fight, and win the game. If he takes too long with these bunkers, he's going to give Cyan time to let these 3 mineral lines to work, the gateways to warp in a bunch of charge lots, and maybe Cyan can pull it out. Problem for Cyan is he hasn't cut off the reinforce. His Adepts need to shade past this army, and he needs to stop the Marines and tanks arriving. He doesn't have many lifts on the Phoenix, so they're not going to do a great job of it on their own. You cannot let a bunker push like this reinforce, because not only do you need to cut off the reinforce, you need to flank it. If you come from one angle, the bunkers are too good of a wall off. You're not going to be able to get on top of the siege tanks. So Cyan really needs to set that flank up right now.
Oh man, Coffee pulling back into the Sim City that he's created himself this pocket for the bio. In come the gateway units. Overcharged shield battery gets fired off there. But the tanks are still doing some great backline work. And charge is done, but just not many units to benefit from that upgrade at all. And one bunker even done on the left side here. The only SCVs to repair there is actually.
Dude, Cyan might actually hold. As bad as that fight looked at the start, the tanks aren't killing any crucial right now. And remember, the medevacs are starting to build. They're not here yet. And the Marines are so wounded. The second bunker does finish. There's only 2 SCVs to repair. And there's a lot of Zealots coming in.
Oh, yeah. A lot of charge lots coming in for the right side. I think you're right, Pig. The little bit of too much extra time that Coffee took there to get the job done, the indecisiveness or just the carefulness, something that's actually a little bit not characteristic of Coffee, how careful he was being and how slow and methodical he was being, ended up shooting himself in the foot there a little bit.
Yeah, because this is meant to be a bunker push. He wanted to kind of do it that way, but Cyan was so greedy in this game. I think that he actually was so committed to all those air units that they used all their energy and so on. I think he really should have shoved right in when his scans saw that the army was not that big. When there's no charge, I mean, that force just cannot fight you. I mean, also Coffee did miss a bit of Marine production when he was focusing on things like missile turrets, getting the starport transition, the engineering bay transition. And as good as those things are, I actually think that initial push, if you think of it more as an almost all-in and just double down there, even bring another 5 SCVs and just YOLO it, I think it's a kill move.
When I saw the SCVs coming across, I thought, why not grab everything? Because it's, you know, getting back into this game is very unlikely from this point. But that said, though, to be fair to Coffee, as he scans and sees a fully saturated at third and probably has his heart sink into his socks, he doesn't really have an economic game in here. Maybe if Cyan drops himself on top of his sword, but all of that doesn't matter. My theory crafting does not matter. We have got all the SCVs coming for a run here. Let's go all in for the second time.
Rallying tanks and libs across the map as well to reinforce. Of course, they'll struggle to get across here with the Phoenix cutting off the rally. The Zealots might just be able to A-move over the top of this. Does he have the Marines to deal with it? It's going to be really tough. A lot of SCVs there. Starts a turret. Coffee, he's got one last chance. A very even army supply. Archon's being warped in for Cyan right now. And he's just going to wait. He wants Coffee to overstep. Coffee can't fight with the batteries. Ooh.
The Bio tried to pull the Protoss into a fight against just biological units, but the turret's actually finished there, getting a Phoenix picked off. I've got to be a little bit critical of Cyan as well. I think there was a free tank coming through the middle of the map that he could have grabbed there with the Phoenixes. He flew over it, but didn't quite pay attention. Well,
once again, Zealots have got to cut off the rally, right? It's a no-brainer with a slow push like this. Coffee can't move away from the ramp and the tanks and the bunkers. You've got to flank this around.
He's coming in with a few Zealots and an Archon on the right side. Pretty beefy units, but not that many of them. That's a lot of DPS in this Bio. With a medevac support, it's actually trading pretty well here, Pig.
Oh, there's still a lot of Zealots left. Two tanks in the back. Oh my lord, this is so close, Maynard. The supply looks so good for Cyan, but none of that's in Zealots. A lot of that's just workers. And honestly, the pack of Marines is so deadly because it can scale. Like the damage output. Look at that. Look at how quickly it's doing damage. And Cyan, I mean, he's got his last-ditch effort. The Phoenix coming in. They're getting shot down. He does pick up two of the tanks. Oh, very big Phoenix pickups. But they're getting shot out of the sky by the missile turrets.
And the missile turrets are here for a reason, and they did their job. And oh, a little bit of move command there from Cyan, and he takes a few more shots to the Zealots than he would have liked. It looks like Coffee might be able to just get this done. He's got the numbers now, and Cyan is bleeding chips. He doesn't have enough units here. He's got a bit of a gas bank, but he can't utilize it too much. Looks like he might be warping in another Archon. Yes, he is, but I think at this point, it's a little bit too little too late.
Yeah, this is wild. I mean, this is why you've got to cut off the reinforce. These pushes are so slow. Like, at no point did Coffee have an ability to really dive those bases until after Cyan threw his army away. These pushes, the Terran is like setting up outside your base, building a wall. He's digging a pit. He's setting up stakes and spikes in it. He's setting it up so that, like, you know, there's a thumbtack in the doorbell. There's a pot of paint on top of the stairs that's going to swing down. If you just don't rob his house, you're going to be fine. The Home Alone technique, it doesn't work if you go around and just cut off the reinforce from behind.
Oh, here comes Cyan like a paint can to Joe Pesci's face. One more try here for the Protoss. The Archon's doing a really good job against the Marines. Wow, those Archons.
The Archons!
Those Archons, man. Those cotton balls of death.
Oh my god. And the Zealot flank was so big that time around.
Joe Pesci has been defeated.
3? Oh my god, dude. Oh, I cannot believe it. Cyan was looking so dead. But, I mean, that just speaks to the advantage he had after holding the first push. And I think Coffee has to lift his main down to his third now, as that's almost completely mined out. So he's going to try and lib harass here. I mean, Cyan's economy is not great either. So with mules, you can kind of keep it even. But he's been on almost pure Marine production. You want Marauders to try and tank a little bit against these Archons.
And one Liberator on the south side getting tagged by those Stalkers. Might actually kill it with the Archons on the way in. Oh, it's so close. That thing's one shot. Coffee goes for the mass repair in the bunker. Does Cyan commit here?
Don't think he needs to.
Yeah. I think he's making up some probes on the other side of the map. He's not re-probing much.
I like that the Liberators moved away from that, just even though the Stalkers were tanking well for them. They were just like, oh, we don't like violence. Always kind of funny, but yeah,
Nexus being rebuilt. That's the natural, right, for Cyan?
Yeah, and he's still got 44 probes. He's going to rebuild his economy a little bit. I feel like with the equal upgrades and so on, yeah, I think Cyan can just recover the economy and chill. I don't think he needs to push because Coffee doesn't have that third command center. And funnily enough, he's going to get enhanced shockwaves. He has so little economy, but it just speaks to how big that area is. When you get that upgrade, it's going to go from hitting 2 or 3 Archons to 4 or 5. So if you can get 3 Ghosts out and then do a push with that, definitely has some potential.
Well, comes some Liberators on the left side, trying to get some harassment done. Looks like they're about to be intercepted, actually. Oh, no, never mind. The Zealots. Zealots are just going to wave at them from the ground.
So a bit of a reset. Cyan doesn't want to probe too hard, and that's wise. Just have a lot of army. Defend. The Phoenix shutting down this Lib harass. I don't like the Libs going in when nothing else is happening. There's no push at the front at the same time. He's going to try and run away.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Phoenix takes forever to kill them, but he's going to lose probably both those Liberators before they join up with the army. And Coffee there, you know, it's a good move if you'd already engaged his army elsewhere on the map, or he'd seen you move out and he was moving to intercept. But as it is, look at this. This time, the first time really in the game where Cyan's going to properly cut off the reinforce and really cut off his kind of support from behind, those Marines going to go down so quickly.
Oh, the counterattack coming in, and the Marines are actually not in the bunker there, so that's a bit of a mistake from Coffee, but he's not too worried about back at home because he's trying to put all of his eggs into this big push at the front.
Oh!
He's got lots of ghosts here. Oh, man.
No way, that is a lot of Archon. EMPs! But the Archon splash is even bigger, Maynard. Oh my gosh.
Oh, man. Yeah, the Archons are just like,
Oh.
Marines all stacked up. For me, it must be my birthday. Merry Christmas. Gobble, gobble, gobble down all those Marines. Oh my god, that extra bio, that little bit of splash, the bonus damage to bio, I mean, that the Archon does, that little bit of splash. God,
Yeah.
man. Archons were the MVP for Cyan in that game, that's for sure. And a small tip of the hat, tip of the fedora to those 4 or 5 Zealots that flanked those 3 tanks at the beginning of that push from Coffee, which looked very much undefeatable until Cyan did this. Oh, not this particular moment, but this was the beginning of his defense. Definitely carved into the Terran forces here.
Not quite enough Zealots on the flank. Otherwise, he could have taken out 1 or 2 more tanks a bit more decisively there. But definitely Archons and shield batteries reinforcing those. And you see, when you've got that Marine-heavy army up against Archons, like, oh, dude, it's so funny, especially with the EMPs at the end. Because you can gun down the Archons really quick and they seem terrible, right? If you've got enough firepower. And if you don't quite have enough, and those Archons catch your Marines clumped up, oh, golly, they do a lot.
Gee golly, gee willikers, they do. Oh, man.
Oh, me, oh, my.
That's right.
Coffee
This is the
making
moment.
it
Those
pretty
Zealots
close, yeah.
getting those tanks. The Archons doing the rest. And it's like Ella Giggle just getting the bunker. The bunker's not done, and the other one that is done is full. So that was just a good old hold there from Cyan, being patient, waiting, biding his time. And then this, oh my god, the Archons, dude, lifting up the tanks. And yeah, they get EMP, but the Archons still get their shots off before they die, and those Marines get evaporated by those +1 attack Archons.
Yep, Cyan there holding on, hanging on strong, and does survive the adversity in that game. I think maybe, you know, Coffee could have hit that first attack a little bit more decisively. I do still think that's one of the crucial moments in that game, because I actually had deja vu. I didn't really have time to mention it, but 2000 Atmospheres, their series last season, when Cyan 3-0'd Coffee, exact same scenario. Cyan had no defense. He had like a couple of units. Coffee moves up, sieges out of range of the Nexus, starts building bunkers, and just sits there. And Coffee's like 8 gateways are all finishing warping in, and he's like, please give me a minute, please give me a minute. He warps in Zealots, warps in another round of Zealots, sends half his army of Zealot Arc on a flank, sandwiches the bunkers and tanks and Marines, kills it. And it looked like, you know, victory was never in doubt. And it was the same thing as this game, where it was like, if that first push of Marines and tanks shoves super dangerously, I know, but decisively into the natural, I don't think Cyan can defend it, because slow Zealots, handful of Adepts, a Sentry, 3 Phoenix that were empty on energy at the time, and an Oracle, that does not defend that army.
Certainly does. It looks like Cyan is on match point. And this is the man himself at the top right. It's been Good Game Gaming this series. Can he good game this game? From Good Game Gaming, this is the Good Game Gamer Cyan.
Showing some pretty good games himself, though. This man in the bottom left is going to go for the gas first. Quick factory opening. This is Coffee.
It's a bit more tech, which means usually a bit more aggression from the Terran to start things off.
Yeah.
It's a Terran map as well. Map's his pick, I believe.
Sometimes the eBay block comes off this, but Cyan obviously has learnt from the first few games in this
that
series,
probe's
so.
been, the last 2 games, that probe's been out there at the minute, just been like, where you at, SCV? You're not going to get me this time.
Not this time, not again.
And he gets the wall off as well. So, yeah, Coffee's trying to hide something nefarious here. And with the faster gas, it's real. It's not a mind game. He's not just expanding and getting greedy behind this wall in to try and get to play mind tricks. He actually is going to be doing something, you know, pretty fast off this factory.
Yeah, usually this is kind of like a TVT opening. I mean, you can still build a starport with it, but you're going to often go for the factory at about 220. And just kind of, you know, get a reactor after this Marine, swap the factory over, get some Hellions out, but have a command center building as well. So we'll see if he goes for that or if he goes instantly for the starport when the factory finishes. Both can be done off one gas, as long as you're planning to just build Hellions. Now the Marine's going to pop out on the outside, and the probe says, haha, saw you. I know there's no Reaper coming, and just casually pulls on home. The Barry's going to build the reactor. And interesting to see where this aggression takes us. Might be an armory, you know, Hellions into invisible Widow Mines is a common one. Sometimes it's that, what is it? It's like 4 Hellions run in the front while you drop 4 Widow Mines on top of the units in the wall to blow them up. Like, that's always super cool. And I remember it worked for like a few weeks straight. And since then, I've seen it get shut down quite a few times, actually.
Yeah, Protoss has been getting very, very good at dealing with it for sure. And, I mean, if we're going to see an armory, we would see it now. If you got the money for it. But, actually switching over and getting straight into Hellions here. And for Cyan, apart from the fact that he went for Cybercore before the Nexus, looks pretty normal for him over there.
Yeah. Now, he didn't risk the command center on the high ground, Coffee, so Cyan's going to be... Yeah, sorry, you didn't risk that, which means the Adept, it would have denied it. It would have killed the SCV. He might have lost the Adept for it, but this way, Cyan doesn't even know there's a command center. So he's going to be like, ooh, he's looking for proxy starports with his Adept, with his, I think, another Adept or probe in the top left as well. He's kind of like, where's the medevac coming from? Where is it? You know, he's really checking every corner right now. And it's actually just going to be 4 Hellions and a Reaper that will probably try to poke the front, but I don't think he's going to necessarily force the issue. Coffee realizes, you know, you're going to respect this. You're going to play a little bit safer. And I'm actually just going to go up into 3 barracks behind it. My command center will float down. And once again, heading to lots and lots of stim. And it definitely sets you up well for a timing attack.
Yeah. A bit, yeah, it's kind of like a multiple barracks, lots of bio on the back end, but off the back of a reactive factory. So trying to use those factory units to burn through the Adepts. The grenade opens the door here, and the Hellions are in. How many probes did he get? It looks like it was going to be a fair bit.
Oh, he's got to be careful. The Adepts focus firing one of those. But, oh, lovely volley. Gets 8 probes there and an Adept kill as well. Sees it, it's Twilight into Robo, and should be able to get at least 2 or 3 more probes in the main. Good micro by Cyan. Very good.
Yeah, nice. So he's giving up now, though, realizing that the Hellion's about to die. Oh, that's unfortunate for Cyan. That volley's getting an extra 2 probes.
Isn't that so funny, Maynard, when you're like, where's the starport? Where's the Widow Mine drop? Where's the Hellion drop? And they just run in the front door and kill 12 probes out of the depth. And you're like, damn it. I was worried about all the other fancier options that take even more investment, but it was actually the really basic investment which paid off this game and just kind of speaks to staying unpredictable as Coffee catches Cyan off, sets himself up really well with tanks, Marines, starts mining off the expansion. And I mean, Coffee sacrifices so much to do this opening, right? He just killed 12 workers and he's still down to. Kind of speaks volumes about how he needed to do at least some damage there. But finding it, he's very satisfied. And does he still not have a starport? Is he going to do the exact same push as last game?
Yeah, no starport. Wow, okay.
It's a good push. Maybe shove harder this game.
Maybe. He's actually pulling the factory off the tech lab here, so how many tanks has he made? He's made, okay, he's got 1. Observer shows up and sees a rotation, but it's not, like, I don't think the Observer saw the other 2 barracks.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to check Cyan's vision of exactly what he's seen. I think seeing the factory, though, next to the starport, he knows it's building a reactor for medevac. So and you see the Marine count now. Get out of there, run! He can blink to the right, of course, with those stalkers. Oh, he's going to recall. Oh, look at that. Very cheeky from Cyan. He'll trade a Stalker there and does get a bunch of SCVs. His Adept Shade on in. He will get rid of the SCV on the starport. Just being a nuisance with these early units. I think this is a worthwhile trade for Cyan.
Yeah, you know, obviously he's taken a lot of probe damage, so answering in kind by killing a lot of the workers of the Terran has actually put him to where he kind of wants to be in terms of, like, you know, not the exact probe count of where he'd like to be at 6 minutes in, but the gap between the Terran's workers and the Protoss' workers, the lead in workers that you would like as a Protoss with that 3rd Nexus done, is about where he would like it. You know, that ratio, I guess, is the word I was looking for. But this army, though, oh man, speaking of supply ratios, the army supply is looking insane for the Terran versus the Protoss right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of biotank. First Colossus starts up. He's going to need to start extended thermal lance. He's got the gas for it now. He might not even bother, but I really think he needs to do it. The Observer, Coffee being rather cautious with this push. Didn't he see the third base? I feel like seeing a third base, he should know. He's got to shove, and he's got to shove right now. He hit a supply block just now. He's starting Marauder production, but he's got to get moving across this map.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's on the march here, stimming a handful of Marines, not burning that stim just yet until he gets closer in range of this third base. And this is why Terrans like Oxide, this position right here.
Go for the battery. Go for the battery.
Yeah, he dives for it, targets it down. Good move there from Coffee. And the Colossus is going to show up, but I mean, that Colossus on its own, with even the Colossus with 4 Stalkers, is honestly not enough to handle this army at the moment.
No, not at all. He's got so little production, right? And it's just Stalkers and Colossus. There's no Zealots or Archons or anything. As long as the Marines don't take big hits from the Colossus, he's going to be good. Takes out warping in Stalkers. Oh, this is really bad for Cyan. His batteries will not have time to finish. That third base taking a lot of damage. And Coffee, he's got a lot more units coming in behind this. Marines, Marauders, tanks. The Colossus will fall. The Marines going to punish this big time.
Like Cyan is not quite enough units, and that means the third is almost certainly going to go down. Coffee trying to zone that ramp here, leapfrogging a tank forward, and that's going to make sure that this army of Cyan does not get up this ramp again. Coffee taking this third base away from him. Now, keep in mind, on the other side of the map, Coffee doesn't exactly have a third himself. He's not super far ahead economically, but he's looking insanely far ahead. And he is definitely far ahead in this game, but it's insanely far ahead in army. Like, he is putting in so much firepower here. And honestly, Cyan is not out of the woods just yet. Coffee could still break him on this natural.
Well, Coffee's not even continuing a lot of SCV production. He's trying to go all in right now, Maynard. Coffee wants the kill, and he wants it badly. He feels he's got the unit advantage, and he wants to press that advantage right now. And I think this is the correct call. Cyan not having the units to hold the line. And we are going to get a 5th game. It's going by like lightning. They are quick, they are fast, but already in game 5, Maynard.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like a lightning fast series with a game 5 in it for sure. Yesterday we had 2 5-game series as well, so 3 best of 5s going to the ace match in a row here for the Chinese bracket. We've got some competitive players right here, Pig.
Indeed. Coffee really finding success here with the early 3 barracks variations, and this is off a different start where there was some pressure. It found big damage for sure. But the 3 barracks, lots of bio, tank production early. I mean, this is Coffee's namesake. This is exactly the build I was talking about that I copied off Coffee like 3 seasons ago, and he still mixes it in all the time. And yeah, going back to one of his favorite build orders that I think he invented himself. So cool to see him showing that off of this opening. It's what I love about Terran play as well, is how every kind of section of a build can very smoothly and easily just be unplugged off a different opening, plugged into a different opening. He's like, no, we'll go gas first, get 4 Hellions, and then I'll do the same kind of Marine tank push. And actually, he changed it. He went Medivacs this time, so he had the healing. He skipped the engineering bay completely this time around. So a very different focus. Wasn't building SCVs much behind the push at all. It was incredibly committed, but he found the weak point, found the engagement that he wanted. So I'm thinking in the next game, show something similar, but actually macro a bit harder behind it. Don't go too all in, because Cyan, he's going to be watching out for this exact sort of push in game 5.
Telling Coffee not to go all in. I mean, he's been pretty all in most of these games, Pig. I don't think that there's been a game where he hasn't been all in. I guess the one on what was it? The game where he was it 2,000 atmospheres where he blocked the natural and he didn't remember that the natural wasn't taken, that Cyan was still on 2 base. Was that 2000? I think it was.
Yeah, yes, it was.
I think that game he wasn't all in, but every other game I think he has been. So, a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Maynard, he gets himself in these good positions, right? So I honestly, if he can show something like that, swap after 2 or 3 tanks into Widow Mines, build a 3rd command center, keep up SCV production, he's a great multi-dropper. But I want to see those multi-drops not in the I need kill you right now and I'm going to be diving into Blink Stalkers and dropping on top of him and just hoping it works. But I honestly feel like Cyan will lock down his defenses against that. Of course, it's on Cyan to prove he can do that. That's a lot of respect to Cyan. This push has worked a couple games. It's looking fantastic. It almost worked and could have worked on Romanticide as well. We're in game 5. Of course, only the players know what's going to happen. Double Proxy Marauder could very well be coming out.
You are not wrong. We do have a bit of a more wild map here. It's actually probably the least played map in this tournament so far. Even more so than than Beckett, weirdly enough. In the bottom right, in the red, from Invictus Gaming, this is Coffee.
The bottom left-hand side, I thought he was a rather large favorite going into the series, but it's a very close one. Needs to win this game to get the grand final rematch first time. This is Good Game Gaming's Cyan.
Some of these games, he's been gaming good, you know.
There have at least been elements of good gaming.
Yeah. Like when he's gaming in these games, it's good, but it's like how good is he gaming in this game?
Yeah, I mean, is it good gaming when you pause a depot in production and it bugs out the production tab and it shows there's 2 depots that aren't producing right now?
You know, I think that he is gaming. I think Coffee's gaming pretty hard right now. But it does look really weird in the production tab. It's kind of giving me Algida a little bit, for sure.
Well, the probe's going to come on forward, is locked out. Coffee's just going to expand on the high ground. Beyond's been doing this a lot. A lot of the Terran players mixing this in. Nobody... Oh, starts a Reaper, cancels it, builds a Marine. Interesting. Changes his mind there. And yeah, he's just gonna be building the factory and then the command center by the looks of it. So 100 gas coming on up. Is it command center or factory first? Which one?
Command center it is.
Okay, very cool. Straight into the reactor there. Now, this is obviously just a pretty normal build. It's just you trying to get a bit of a reaction. How much does Cyan respect it? So far, I see 2 probes scouring the map. That's a good reaction to get. This is exactly the sort of thing you want from your opponent, is 2 probes not mining, kind of going, where's the proxy? Where's the proxy? What's happening? If you also get Cyan to drop a couple of early shield batteries, this is really paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. Get him to overcommit to a defense, to just over respect or get a little bit too scared of something, and that's when you've got him. You got him by the short hairs.
3 barracks follow up, and that. Oh, it's the double Reaper as well. The delayed double Reaper. You know, this is one of those moves that sometimes looks so average, like really 100 minutes, 100 gas. In other games, there are 2 Adepts are on the map looking for you, harassing. Those Reapers get in, kill 4 or 5 probes, and you're like, oh, this is so worth it. So I really don't mind this at all. It's become so popular with the top Terran players out there all around the world. I see your Clems, your Cures, your Beyonds all mixing this in. And that Adept, it was hanging out at the wall. Doesn't want it to see those Reapers pop. And thankfully for Coffee, doesn't see them. So those Reapers going to start making their way across the map. However, I think the Adept is going to intercept them in the middle.
Unless she turns to the right, oddly enough.
Ooh, Stim does start up as well. So Coffee, he's going to be going pretty quick engineering bay. It looks like Stim probably shields then +1. Not going to be looking for a quick factory. He still hasn't floated his command center down, but it will be happening shortly.
Well, and down goes that command center. And yeah, I actually, you know, I'm a big fan of the 3 racks with the +1 attack upgrade timings. Like hitting with all that bio with +1, just lining it up so that when you get over there, all your upgrades are done at the same time. And I have to also bring up that while these Reapers getting caught by the Adept, one of them will escape. There are some jitters. I mentioned it in chat in Twitch at the moment, but just in case you guys have chat minimized or something like that, there is a little bit of jittering. It is not on your end. We have a little bit of a connection error sometimes between our Australian observer Insano and China. So these games are being played on the Chinese server, but it should be fine for the players. If the players were having a lot of lag, they would have paused. So
it's often a server issue between the Asian servers and, you know, connections far away. So it's not something where we can just hot swap his connection. I was casting the Korean Weekly earlier today, and exact same issue with those little stutters. The players don't feel anything with it.
Yeah, that's good. You know, obviously the most important thing is like, yeah, we can deal with a couple jitters here and there as casters, as /observers, /fans watching the game on Twitch, but you know, most important here is tournament integrity. Want the players to have as seamless an experience as possible. Oh, by the way, the observer is not blaming himself; he's blaming the ESL Studio PC. So he's handballing that blame like a good adult.
Yeah,
just pass the blame.
Reaper's still alive, so good scouting there. Seeing that it's just a 2-base Protoss, and Coffee's going to move out. Now, you don't want to push too hard here. He does have a good factory timing. Of course, +1 won't be ready here. Stalker's on the front. There's no need to push here. So I think, yeah, pulling back to the high ground, the wise choice. Now, what's really good here is if you can sneak the bio out and then come behind the bio, right? You poke out with some of the bio, the Stalkers blink away from it, and your other bio is waiting behind it. So if he can do that, it'll be really good. His Stalkers are going to blink in the main. Will there be enough units to deal with it? There should be off 3 barracks production. It should be a lot of stuff popping out, but I don't see any units here right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of harassment, a little bit of damage here from the Stalkers. Going to get an add-on. It's always nice. Maybe an SCV or 2 before they bounce.
Yeah, it's not even a cancel, so 50-50 for the add-on. It's a reactor. It's not cheap. And a bunch of SCVs as well. Cyan being very annoying, and those Marauders struggling. He's going to try and stim up the ramp. Coffee just YOLOs it.
All those snap force fields. Perfect for Cyan.
Does lose his 3rd base, but he's doing so much with the Stalkers. I think he feels okay with this trade. Like, all the mining time, the reactor, he slowed down the starport medevac production. I think Cyan's kind of like, well, you know what? I'm getting Colossus. I'm getting a Forge. Yeah, I'm on 2 base. It's not great, but I'm up 8 workers here. He probably has a sense that he's up a little bit in those workers. He can rebuild his 3rd in a moment. I think this kind of balances out across things as we go to the next step. And don't get me wrong, Coffee kept most of his bio alive. He only lost about 2 Marines on the force fields going up the ramp. So I think both sides still in this with a very good fighting chance. As Cyan moves out of the map, this is a dangerous move out. He doesn't have any sentry energy, but he's looking for a little bit of damage. Maybe swipe down some bio. He gets surrounded. It's a problem, but he's got the Observer. That's why he feels confident. He knows there's no medevacs. There's no mobility for the Terran. So he was just looking to see if he could scare Coffee, maybe shave off a few units, but he pulls back. Very wise.
Yeah, the Observer sees, he's like, oh no, that's quite a few units. There's no 3rd command center here, nothing for me to harass, so let's pull back. Definitely a good mature decision here from Cyan. Good patience to pull back there and chill. Wait for Extend Thermal Lance, get further along with your charge and your +1 attack upgrades. All those things definitely going to help him in the upcoming defense. Okay, Coffee splits off his forces, going to take a fair bit of force off the ground and try and hit the air here, dropping into the main base. A very droppable main.
Blind spot right there. Uh-oh. Army is coming up, though. He's aware of it. Oh, if he can stop charge, that would be huge. He doesn't want to lose all of his bio doing it, though. And he gets out. That's a great kill. Charge is now not going to be kicking in till at least 9 or 10 minutes, Maynard. This is a huge victory for Coffee. Just slows down that tech. He does lose 1 unit there, but this gives Coffee a lot of time. He's going to drop a 3rd command center. He's starting tanks and Vikings for the anti-Colossus production. If he can get up the anti-Colossus tech, do a big push before charge kicks in, it's going to be devastating.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that charge is one of, if not the most important upgrade for your gateway units, and especially against Terran dealing with bio and that sort of thing at this phase of the game. Like, Blink is good early. In the middle of the game, charge really just turns everything on its head as far as the gateway units relationship to the bio. Like, without charge, I really don't think as a Protoss you should be looking for fights for with gateway units against bio. And they synergize so amazingly well with Colossi, who, you know, the charge lots keep the bio back, while the Colossi just swipe at them from the back line with that extra range. But without that charge, the bio really has such an easy time getting from the crunchy outside to the chewy inside of the Protoss army, where all those, you know, important, expensive splash damage units are, which are kind of made of paper. They die very fast.
And you know what, dude? Coffee's going all in. He's doing this is like something Beyond used to do a lot. It's like, I'm building a 3rd command center. See Protoss player? And Protoss is like, okay, cool. He's building SCVs. And the Terran's like, I'm never building SCVs. It's just for transferring workers too, bro. I'm not going to miss a beat on my production. You know, it's Marauders, tanks, Vikings, Marines for days. The Vikings are floating over there. I think he was just looking for an observer so he can potentially drop later. Remember, this is like that timing attack push style. Tanks, Vikings, it's all about a frontal push. At least it would be, but it's Coffee. So he knows at some point he's going to pick up 80% of his army and drop it everywhere. So he's going to already clear the observers out down there, does the scan. Unfortunately, doesn't see this one. And that is a giant army. 4 tanks and like 6, 8 Vikings. Colossus aren't going to do much here. Cyan knows it. He's swapping into Immortals. He does not have charge. Oh my gosh.
I think Cyan's in a ton of trouble here, Pig. That's a lot of Marauders, a lot of tanks, and those Vikings really kind of wipe those Colossi off the board when push comes to shove.
He's doing
A
what he
lot of
needs to.
Vikings.
He's trying to stall it out, but he still hasn't started charge. And I don't know if he's realized. He's making a Templar Archives right now, so he's going to add Archons into this. He's trying to slow this down. I think he needs to land a few more Colossus swipes, but he's worried about the Vikings just gunning them down from afar. He's trying to slow this push down and buy himself time, but Coffee's army, it's magnificent, it's huge, it's massive. Observer sees him pick up and go into the main. Coffee, he's getting frustrated because he's not moving forward fast enough, so he splits off there. I think that's a good fight for Coffee. Until the Zealots join in, at least.
The slow Zealots.
Oh, no shoes for them, mate.
That's right. Just walking around barefoot. It's inside the main, though. You can walk around barefoot inside the main, but it's just gross to not wear shoes out in the street.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, dude. The
Hippie
tanks are going to
Zealots.
move forward. They're going to try and siege up. Oh, he's got ramp control. And this is the devastating position
man.
that you hate being here as Cyan. It's so awkward now. He moves onto that ramp. He's going to get blasted by the tank. He still has not started charge. I think at this point, has he just decided I'm not even going to bother? Or has he not noticed?
Yeah, maybe he thinks he's like, it's not going to finish in time anyway. I need to hold with what I have right now. But maybe if he decided to get charged a few minutes back, he'd have it now. Oh, here comes Cyan with everything he has. He's coming down a little bit of choke point on that ramp. Bio goes for the big old stim. The tanks in the back line. We've got 5 tanks firing here for Coffee. The Vikings also picking off the Colossi. But the Colossi have not gone down. The overcharged shield batteries.
It's so clumped, and the tanks were not focus fired on those Colossus. The shield batteries were healing the whole time. Cyan with a giant arc, and the bio was just way too clumped in that area. Wow, the Colossus just evaporate the bio. The splash damage is massive, and remember, there was no SCV production behind this. Coffee's built 3 SCVs in the last 4 minutes of this game. He was pretty much all in. Cyan has a gold base up on the 4th. He defends, he survives, and that is a very impressive hold from Cyan.
And look at those upgrades too, man. Like, he's about to be 3-2 against a guy with just +1 attack. Coffee had no intention of getting any upgrades or an armory in this game, so... and right now he's making an extra command center. He's got to turn this into a macro game. He's starting to build SCVs, but 2 at a time.
Yeah, no.
It's I think he's floundering here, honestly. The Terran does not feel comfortable at this point.
Well, what can you do from here? This economy, like you said, the upgrades. The upgrades alone are such a problem. It's going to be 3-2 in a moment against +1. And 4 upgrade leads with Bio against Protoss. Like, no way. You're just not going to be able to get through even the Zealots or the Stalkers. The Stalkers will start beating Marauders 1v1, and that's never a good sign.
Yeah, it kind of looks like things are getting worse and worse here for Coffee. Who's at least starting to remember his upgrades. Also speaking to remembering upgrades, Charge is on the way now for Cyan. Enhanced Shockwave's on the way for Coffee, and don't get me wrong, all those things are great tools here for the Terran, but the army of Cyan is getting stronger and better, and Coffee's is getting stronger and better, but not fast enough. We're not seeing too many Vikings here anymore. 3 Colossi looks really scary. We've got Archons in this ball. Charge lots about to kick in. We've got Immortals that are going to have +3 attack. We've got Disruptors on the way as well, in time for the Ghosts, which is exactly what you want as a Protoss against those units. It feels really good for Cyan. Every way I'm slicing it in my brain, I'm like, this looks good for Protoss, this looks good for Protoss, and this looks good for Protoss.
EMP is a game changer, but it's not here just yet. Obviously, keep up tank production. I think even start walling your bases off a little bit to protect the tanks a bit more. Maybe that helps out. Yeah, you're going to need to get a lot of different kind of pieces working together and just survive and look for a big army later on in the game. Now, the problem that, of course, presents itself is how do you as Coffee, number 1, catch up on the upgrades, 2nd, eBay Armory, only starting now. So that's like, okay, I'm not even looking to fight. We're just looking to survive for like maybe 6 or 7 minutes until the upgrades look decent. How do you survive like mass blink DT in that time? Like, thankfully for him, Cyan's not got the DT shrine down until now. But it's going to be so hard to afford all the defensive measures, not to mention just affording the frontal push. Like this is such a scary army. The Stalkers can hunt him down.
Yeah, certainly can. The Marauder count looks like he's going to turn and fire. He wants to shave into those units as much as he can. Charge Lot's hitting this planetary before it's become a planetary.
Planetary will kick in there and fight him off with a bit of repair action.
Yeah,
Drops
should be
will come
fine.
in and try and support that. The army on the front, though, especially with like just 1 or 2 big disruptor shots and the upgrade advantage. I mean, Coffee can push in and just win the game, I think. His upgrade advantage is just too big, even without any charge lots to tank. Look at that, grabs the tank. Oh, no, the second disruptor shot kind of bounces off the tank and doesn't actually hug it close enough to get the damage, but he's shaving off so many units and not losing anything. Cyan missing a Warp Prism to reinforce. That's why he's a little gun-shy to commit. Coffee is going to try and desperately counter drop, but he goes right through an Observer. Instant recall. those Stalkers blink on that, we might just see a GG.
Oh, he recalled to the wrong Nexus. He should be able to get close to the main in time, but yeah.
It's a mistake Parting would never make. Parting, the only Protoss player who builds his probes off each Nexus on a separate control group, and that's why he's always hitting his recoil correctly. It does mean his probe production suffers, but Cyan plays like 99% of the Protoss pro population with all of his Nexus on one control group, and surprisingly surprisingly, he didn't jump to the main using a camera location, because that's normally what you do there. You're like, oh, quick, pull to the main base so I can blink on that drop. Doesn't really matter, didn't take much damage, but just a little bit of laziness from Cyan. He was like, yeah, this will probably get me to my main or my natural, my third maybe. It'll be close enough, and it's like the top base, the one you don't want to recall to. That is how the cookie crumbles sometimes, but it is, of course, not a crucial decision, which is why Cyan didn't pay that much attention. Stalkers get a Viking, very nice.
Indeed. Getting the Viking is great. And yeah, you know, a little bit of mistake there from Cyan, and we're having a bit of a chuckle, but is it going to cost him the game? I think unlikely. He's looking pretty good here with this push. He's got a lot of disruptors. The invisible men are coming down with his turrets. Planetary's going to stay alive, but it does give Cyan an angle. He's got, you know, choke points normally quite good for Terran, especially when you got a laundry list of tanks just going deep, almost into the, you know, the natural ramp here. But, oh, okay, Coffee's trying to set up a pincer here, but Cyan pulling back, not letting him get that position.
Triple Stargate transition on the way for Cyan. Cyan is like, hey, did you guys know I'm a Thorzane fan, right? From back in the day. He's like, you want to see some spoon Protoss? He is going to get every single upgrade. That production tab is going to just continue to light on up with the second Cyber Core for double air upgrades, mass cannon battery. He's going to add Tempest to pick off the air units, carriers as a general purpose fighting unit. I don't think we've seen Psystorm yet. That's the only thing that's kind of missing, but he's got so many disruptors. Obviously, Psystorm is very important for late game, for hitting Vikings and Libs, but I think he's got such a powerful anti-ground army that when push comes to shove, and Coffee's on 1-1 versus 3-3-1, his army cannot fight right now. The fact that Coffee's moving out scares me for him.
Yeah. I mean, +2 attacks about to finish, but it's only like, nice upgrades, bruh. You want to fight? Sure thing. Bruh.
Disruptor count is still very scary. He's trying to look for those shots. He's hoping to catch those tanks. For those who don't know, disruptors outrange siege tanks by about half a range.
Invisible men.
Oh, they're going to get the tank rally. Bio gets in, he's going to do some damage, but remember that Cyan can lose a base. He can lose 2 or 3 bases. It's not going to hurt him in a kind of mortal way. It's damage. It's nice. You got to be patient here, and you got to protect those siege tanks. Cyan honestly could have jumped on those tanks while all that bio was up there. He would have cleared that army quite easily.
Well, Terran's coming into this choke point here. Oh, Destruction Nova's coming forward. Gets a couple of ghosts. Not bad. The other Novas whiff a little bit, though.
Yeah, Ghost can't stim. Not as good at spreading as Bio against those. Oh, he's thinking about going for the DT flank on the tanks, Maynard. If he doesn't scan or EMP those instantly, the tanks will just disappear.
Oh my god. Oh, what?
Oh, the tanks are on siege, though. Oh, my lord. What a mess.
It was a mess on both sides. And the DTs. Oh, there's the blink.
Oh,
there's the blink.
Oh, goodbye, siege tanks. The upgrade advantage is still massive. Even though +2 attack finish for the bio, they are still way behind on the overall upgrades. And you can see this Protoss army, Cyan, he built this massive advantage for himself 5-6 minutes ago. He wants to push forward. Missile turret gets the Colossus. No, it doesn't. It barely survives. But this base is forfeit. And with that, Coffee, a handful of unit, the dregs of the Terran force, up against a massive Immortal Archon Colossus Stalker. It's a giant army. It's well upgraded. There's an air transition on the way behind it. Cyan poised to finish this game. He says, it's my job to take down time. I will be going to the grand finals.
This Coffee's being ground. It's roasted. It's plunged. What's another
plunger?
With Coffee?
That is what they call Cyan, the plunger, Maynard.
The plunger, that's right. The French press.